So the first thing you want to make for these pineapple cakes is that buttery, rich pineapple jam. So in a medium-sized skillet, I'm just adding 3 tablespoons or 39 grams of unsalted butter that's soft at room temperature. Just let it melt over about medium heat until it begins to sizzle and sing in your pan. Then after about 3 minutes or so, you should have a nutty and rich aromatic brown butter on your hands. And do make sure to swirl the pan occasionally so that way the milk solids on the bottom don't burn. So once you have your brown butter, you want to add your canned pineapple. That's one 20-ounce can. And I did use pineapple chunks, which I recommend actually using the crushed pineapple and drain most of the liquid out. And, obviously you're adding cold pineapple to a hot pan of butter, which is not the best idea because then it just sputters and splatters all over your stovetop. So do make sure to do it off the heat. And like I said, try to use the crushed pineapple because I thought that maybe after cooking the pineapple after a while, it would help soften it and then I can just crush it by hand. But honestly, it'll save you the step if you just buy the crushed pineapple and add it straight in. Just make sure to drain most of that liquid out. And as you can see there, after I kind of pureed my pineapple chunks in a food processor for a bit until it's nice and coarse, you can see that extra water that's seeping out of it. And the goal here is to basically just heat it up over about medium heat and let most of that water evaporate so that way you can really condense the sugars and have a nice, thick, rich pineapple jam. So now for a bit of sweetness, I'm adding a 1/4 cup or 50 grams of light brown sugar. You could definitely add more or less depending on your sweetness level. If you want it sweeter, obviously just add more sugar. But I think this is the perfect balance between sweetness and also tasting some of that tartness from the pineapple. So just let it simmer again over about medium to medium high heat. Just make sure to watch it carefully. Don't walk away. Make sure to keep an eye on it because there's a lot of sugar in the pan between the pineapple and the brown sugar. So do stir it occasionally so that way it doesn't burn on the bottom. So after I would say about 20 minutes or so, you should have a really, really thick, rich pineapple jam on your hands and nice and sticky and sweet, delicious. So go ahead and just add it straight into a bowl and let it cool off. So in the meantime, we're going to work on our shortbread crust. So I have 1 cup or 130 grams of all-purpose flour straight into a large bowl, along with a 1/4 cup or 30 grams of powdered sugar, confectioner sugar, icing sugar, however you want to call it, along with half a teaspoon or 2 grams of baking powder for a little bit of lift, as well as a 1/4 teaspoon or 1 gram of salt. So now I just mix it together by hand. You can definitely use a whisk here if you prefer, but honestly it's so simple and easy. Why dirty another utensil? That's my thinking anyway. And if your powdered sugar has a few clumps in it, and I did not sift my powdered sugar, you can definitely just break it up with your hands and your little fingertips there. So now just added 4 tablespoons or 56 grams of unsalted butter that's very, very soft at room temperature. Normally like a shortbread cookie or crust, usually you would beat the butter for a little bit along with the sugar to incorporate some air, but honestly I want to keep this very stripped down and simple, so I just added the butter straight in along with 1 large egg, and that helps to kind of coat the little granules of flour. So the butter kind of coats each little grain of flour and it helps to create a nice tender and crisp shortbread crust to our pastry. So once you mix it together, kind of knead it more or less until it forms a nice dough ball there. And then just place it on your work surface and roll it out until it reaches like a 10 to 12 inch log. So now at this point my shortbread dough is pretty soft, so I did refrigerate it, but in the meantime I just divided my pineapple filling into about 8 portions, so 8 little balls, and just rolled it around. It should be cool enough to handle at this point. It does help to dampen your hands a bit. So after about maybe half an hour or so in the fridge, my shortbread crust was much firmer now and easier to handle. And so I did roll it into a ball and then just flatten it out. Make sure to lightly flour your counter surface that you're working on. And then just roll it out until it's about like 1/4 of an inch thick. So once your shortbread crust or pastry is all rolled out, You want to add your little pineapple filling. And this is the part that I think I kind of messed up on, to be honest with you. So I was like wrapping the ball, as you would intuitively, around the filling. And there was a lot of crust, like excess crust or dough, cookie dough, on the bottom, or what will be the bottom of our pastry. So I do recommend to take off any excess pastry, so that way you don't have such a thick bottom to your pineapple cake. And then just roll it around your hand. Make sure don't compress it too much, because then you could squash the filling out of it. So just roll it around your hands to shape it roughly, and then I do like to use a bench scraper or some sort of flat edge to kind of shape it into a little square rectangle, an oval shaped rectangle. So once you have your little cake there, just place it straight onto a lined baking sheet. And then I do like to freeze my little cakes for about 10 to 15 minutes while the oven is preheating to 375 degrees, and then bake that for about 20 minutes. But do make sure to flip them halfway through, so about 10 minutes into baking, you do want to flip your little cakes over, so that way it gets nice and brown on both sides. So then after 20 minutes of baking, just take them straight out. You can see how nice and golden they are on top. And freezing them for about 10 to 15 minutes prior to baking does help to keep the shape. I know some people actually bake them in molds, but I don't have those little square molds that you would bake them in. So you can see here that nice sweet and tart and rich pineapple filling. You can definitely taste the butter from the pastry as well as the filling. And like I said, I think next time I'll do a better job in making sure that bottom edge to my pastry is not so thick, but otherwise it's a great little pastry, little tea cake to have with some tea or coffee mid-afternoon. So definitely give it a try. Let me know in the comments below what you think, as well as subscribe for new recipes every week. Make sure to smash the like button as well as the notification bell to get notified every time I post a new video. Bye!